built-in render pipeline, aka the thing that screwed up my whole game. Last week I posted my first devlog on this channel, where I shared how I built this game. The only problem? I built this game in the built-in render pipeline, which is outdated, and not what you should be using. But of course, being a beginner in Blender, I didn't know this. So when I tried to upgrade my project to the universal render pipeline, this happened. I looked into it and watched a ton of videos on solutions, but I couldn't save it. Now, you may be wondering why I needed to switch to the universal render pipeline, and it was all because of this ice blaster, a tower that would shoot at boats, temporarily freezing them. Unfortunately, I struggled to make a decent ice texture, and this one would bug out a ton once you walked away a certain distance. Basically, it would display itself above the water, even if it was halfway submerged. I thought that upgrading the pipeline would fix the issue, but it made it so much worse. So grabbing all the code and assets I could carry, I quickly hopped off that sinking ship and jumped onto a new one. A new game. What game, you ask? Well, I call it Tower Defense. Now, I know it's not the most original name, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. The game is going to be a tower defense game now, not an island defense game, but it's okay. It'll still be similar to the previous game, just with a few obvious changes. Instead of an island, enemies will be walking down this path, and you'll make money by damaging them. But that's really all the major differences, so yeah, let's get started making this. The first thing I did was set up this basic path in Blender for zombies to walk across. Then I added a little bit of code to make an enemy be able to walk along the path. The enemy behaves a lot like the seagull from the previous game, because it just moves toward a certain game object inside a list. Now, the enemy is looking kind of bad, so I went ahead and modeled one in Blender. But I don't know, after modeling him, I felt like he looked a bit funny, and I didn't really love the design, so I remodeled him in Blender. It's still not perfect, and its animation will definitely need some work, but I feel like it looks much better than the older one. Now, I had to add in a health system, so now when the zombies collide with our base, our health gets subtracted by their remaining health. Pretty cool. The only problem is that this isn't exactly a fair fight, because the player has nothing to use to defend against the zombies. So I added in the game's first tower, the minigun, which was also the first tower in my other game. When it comes to making towers, I had two choices, a human holding the gun or just the gun itself. For example, something like this, or something like this. I think I'm going to go with someone holding the gun. Obviously, you can't really see that here because it's just a couple of blocks. So just imagine someone's holding the minigun. To make this guy work, I had him search through a list of enemies and check which one of them was closest to it. It then rotated and fired at it, giving us something like this. Now it's time for the actual placement system, which looks really cool in my opinion. When you click this button, you can put down the minigun wherever you want, as long as the spot isn't already taken. To make the system feel a bit snappier, I added in a grid system, and this grid texture, which was something I wasn't able to do in the built-in render pipeline. And that's all the progress I was able to make in the last 2 weeks. I'm still pretty new in Unity, and I'm learning a lot as I go. This is the model I made for the minigun tower, but in the next video I'll show you how I added this guy in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.